warmly welcome you all to our podcast series, the ONTOPIC'22, organized by the Commerce Society of Royal College, where we have an interesting talk on a trending topic in the field of business and economy. Today, our episode will be diving deeper into the depths of some key aspects of blockchain technology, which is a global trending topic in the present day. Our guest is a certified blockchain solution architect and co-founder and chief executive at Niftron. I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Sharmilan Somasundaram to our podcast series. And thank you very much, sir, for taking time out of your busy calendar to join us today. I'm Dina Vellapalli, hosting this episode along with my colleague Kalya Metananda.
Moving on to our questions. So, our first question to you. What is blockchain technology and how does blockchain technology work?
Hi, yeah. So I think everyone who is new to blockchain or first time hearing about blockchain definitely will have this question in their mind. Most of the people heard about blockchain or getting to know about blockchain mostly from first time hearing Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, and they don't have full idea about what is blockchain and how it works. So it's very simple. So I'll initially go with the non-technical example, so then it will be easy for everyone to understand. So blockchain, how it works is basically it's a technology that will allow two untrusted parties to transfer valuable assets in between them. So that's the whole concept of blockchain, and that's the purpose of, you can say it as a purpose of blockchain. So it allows two untrusted parties to transfer valuable assets in between them. So when it comes to valuable assets, it can be money. So that's where the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and all these use cases comes. Or else it can be property, it can be assets, it can be even data. So anything we value, if we want to transfer that to untrusted parties, so that's where the issue comes, because if you value something or if you have anything valuable and we want to transfer with someone we trust, mostly it won't be mostly we won't fall into any issues or any problems because we trust that person and that person trusts us, so we can directly do the transactions. But when we want to do that with the untrusted party, if it is not valuable asset, it's fine. But when it comes to valuable assets with the non-trusted parties, then we have issues, and we usually rely on third parties, or else we rely on, like in a money or money exchange scenarios, we rely on banks or else exchange facilities. And if it comes to asset transfers like land or property, we rely on advocates to write the contracts and transfer it, because we don't have that trust between those two parties, and we want to fill that with the artificial trust which comes from a third party or a middleman. So what blockchain doing is it's basically replacing that artificial trust with a natural trust that you can directly build in between two untrusted parties by trusting that blockchain or piece of the technology or the code, whatever you can tell it in the technical terms. But you're trusting that blockchain, and then on top of that, you can do transactions with these two untrusted parties. So that's the overall idea about like what is blockchain and what is it doing. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. So, second question then, how exactly can we use this technology in our day-to-day life, and what are the advantages that we can get from this technology when compared with traditional methods?
So the basic thing is like blockchain is already in use with the real world, day-to-day lives in many other countries. Like, in Asia and Sri Lanka, it's not that adaptive at the moment, but there are some use cases in Sri Lanka as well as in Asian countries. But when it comes to other part of the world, so it's massively used in day-to-day lives as well. So for an example, in US and in some countries where you can even purchase coffee using blockchain technology, using cryptocurrencies and different things. And similar like that, you can do traceabilities, like when you're buying a coffee, you can basically simply you can scan a QR code and you get to know that where that coffee beans are coming from, where they harvested, and where they like packaged that or where they put it into the warehouse and how long that it took to transport. So who transported that or which vehicle, which temperature. So you can get to know more details about that. So that kind of a use cases are mostly used in day-to-day lives. And apart from that, the main benefits of using that is it's again the one is trust. So wherever we feel that we want to improve trust or wherever we feel that we have a lack of trust on doing transactions or storing informations, so then that's where the blockchain comes and that improves that trust and improves that transparency, ownership. So it's all comes together to build that trust. And the other side is the benefit is we reducing these middleman and third party involvements when we are doing transactions. So for an example, some third parties, it's not like we are going completely in a terms of blockchains like decentralized, but it's in a way that we can simply go for a one step to semi decentralized. So in a way that we can keep any middleman or third party who are giving us that additional values or else helping us in some ways to do the transactions or adding values to the transactions, we can keep them. But most of the times we have third parties which are not adding value to that transaction. So we can simply remove them and we can reduce the amount or the fees that we are paying to them as well. So for an example, the use cases done in US and India, and I think most of the other countries as well, some states of India as well, they are moving into blockchain-based land registries. So in that case, you can simply avoid or eliminate the third party as advocates or the lawyers who are writing these contracts. You can directly write the contract saying that this is my house and I'm going to transfer to this person, and this is the amount of money that person is going to give. So you can directly do that through blockchain, so which eliminate that third party as well as which cut down that cost as well. So that amount that you are going to pay for that transaction. So similar like that, the proven use case is the cryptocurrencies. So when you're transferring money from Sri Lanka to US, so you have to, I mean, in current scenarios, we can't, but in a scenario that you want to transfer, you had to go through the bank, you had to transfer it to Sri Lankan bank, and they need to transfer to US, and you had to pay them a lot of transaction fees when you're transferring and while you're withdrawing as well. But if I using crypto, so it's just you acting as your own bank and the other side, the receiver acting as his own bank. So you can directly transfer from your one to his one. And you are paying a small transaction fee will be there for the miners and all the other concepts of the blockchain. But which is comparing to traditional transaction fees, it's not even comes to like 0.1%. So you can directly do that without any restrictions, and it's you get that freedom, and at the same time you can do it without any other party's involvement or without relying on another party. So these are the main benefits, and on top of this trust and middleman, so you have additionally transparency, ownership, and decentralization, and no central point of failure, so immutability. So you have a lot of other advantages comes, but on top, these are the two main reasons what we can do with blockchain, and what are the use cases we can try out in day-to-day lives as well.
Thank you. You explained, it's very clear that blockchain.
Okay, so when it comes to blockchain and investment, so it's basically it's a use case. So we have to look at as a use case. So actually, you can't invest on blockchain, or you can't transact, or you can earn money through blockchain. So it's basically a use case of blockchain. So if you are investing on blockchain or you want to make money on blockchain, so it's basically a technology that you can do programming, you can do investments on blockchain companies. So that's a different part. But how you can actually invest or make money through blockchain is basically one use case that built it on top of blockchain, which is called cryptocurrencies. So which is similar like how the World Wide Web is there, and you are building a shopping website or something like that as a one use case. So it's similar to that. You have the basic layer as blockchain, and the one use case that comes as cryptocurrencies. So in cryptocurrencies, there are a lot of ways people can do transact. As I mentioned, like if you want to transact some amount from one country to other country, you can directly do that through blockchain, any amount of money, and you can invest on that. So you can basically people buy and hold these cryptocurrencies for a while, so then the price goes up and then they sell those things. Or else there are a lot of people who are doing day tradings, or traders who do day tradings, and they make money from that. So it's more like how you treat the share markets. So you can buy shares, you can do it, but the difference is share markets is it's almost like controlled by different parties and different manipulations, different agencies. But here it's almost comes as a decentralized. You have decentralized exchanges and you have centralized exchanges as well. So like Binance and all, it falls under the centralized exchanges where you can go, you can create an account, you can buy cryptos, you can trade cryptos, and you can invest on that. And there are a lot of other schemes that they have. And similar like that, you can transact for assets, or even giving the money to another person, you can transact through that. And there are a set of decentralized exchanges as well, like PancakeSwap and Uniswap. So there are a lot of like that. So it's not controlled by entity like Binance or a company like Binance, and it's mostly comes as fully decentralized. So you can go there and you can do your transactions and you can buy and hold cryptos as well. So it's totally a different use case comparing to what blockchain is doing. But what is the point is like blockchain is again it's a technology that allows you to uh, transfer valuable assets in a trustable manner with an untrusted party. So which is exactly doing it for the money here. So you can transact and you can do it. And in Sri Lanka, when it comes to, I mean, there's always like every countries take their own stand whether they want to go and legalize crypto and legalize crypto transactions and let the people to use crypto within the country to buy things and all. So most of the countries now taking a positive step and they're adapting it. So already countries like Estonia is far ahead in that they adapted so long ago. And countries like US, UK, and all are like they adapted a while before. And even India is like took a chance stand on that, and I think it's they take it back now. But most of the countries adapted that, and they put some regulations as well. Like depends on it's different from countries to countries. Like some like you can have to pay some tax on cryptos when you're converting it to fiat currencies. Some have like regulations on that, but it's mostly adapted on that. But in Sri Lanka, still we don't have a clear idea on that. So it's mostly goes as a gray side of that. So Sri Lanka is not against crypto and it's not uh, approved crypto as well. So it's in between that. But recently, after the current country situations and things, like a lot of people are into cryptos, a lot of people are using cryptos, and the same time, like even Sri Lankan shops, we can see like Kaprika and a lot of other shops as well accepting cryptocurrency payments. So you can pay using cryptos and you can buy things. So which is one of the more one of the positive things when it comes to the depreciation of the Sri Lankan currency is going, the inflation and all. So people are like moving towards cryptos and all and doing the transaction using crypto. So which is one of the good things. Like we can see like a lot of hotels and things now, which is more focused on tourists, are now accepting cryptos as well in down south and even in LA and a lot of places. So it's moving in a good positive side. But investments and all, it's again it comes with risk as well. So it's almost like high reward high risk kind of scenario. It's similar like how it works in share markets. So people who are invested on these things or want to hold it, or maybe want to buy cryptos and do transactions or tradings, it's better you go through a proper phase of understanding how it works and what are the risks involved and how it I mean how you can make money or how you can trade in a correct way. So take the time and go through that, and then once you started to do that, so you will be minimize your risk and losses as well. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So, fourth question then, what is the trust behind blockchain technology?
Yeah. So the trust behind blockchain technology, it's built in this way. So for an example, like if we are doing this podcast in a real world, and I mean if you have around 100 200 audience there in the hall, and if I want to give, for an example, if I want to give one person 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees money, and if I don't have the trust on that particular person, then I am afraid of doing the transition because that person don't know me and I don't know that person. But in a case that we want to give that money, what I'll be doing is, if I, in a case if I give that money, the fear of in behind my mind is whether that person will come tomorrow and say that he didn't get that money, or else maybe there are chances the person can come and say that he got only 1,000 rupees instead of 10,000. And similar like that, the person will have fear as well. I will be come and say that maybe I gave more money than 10,000, or maybe I won't get the asset from him, like if I do an exchange or a transaction. So what we'll be doing is we'll be definitely go and find a person who we have the mutual trust. So I'll be find a person who I trust, and the same time the person the next person trusts that person as well. So we'll be use him as a middleman, and we'll be do that transaction. So what will happen is, if I say I gave more money, or if he says he didn't get the money, then we both will rely on that particular person, and then he'll be tell that no, I witnessed this transaction and this is what happens. But the problem is, because it's human and it's involvement of a person, we can easily bribe that person, or we can change his decision. So either both of us, or I mean one of the persons can directly go and convince him. Maybe if he's my good friend, then I can convince him and ask him to like tell the false instead of the truth. And the other side also, the person can come and give a money and ask him to tell it what he wants. So in that scenario, it's where the most of the trust issues comes and all. So to replace that, what I can do it is, instead of taking that person and doing the transition in front of him, if I do the transition in front of the 100 people or audience, like 100 or 200 people who are coming for this session, if I do the transition in front of them, all 100 people will witnessing that transition, and they'll be grab that information, they'll be see through their eyes, they'll be grab that, and they'll be store it in their brains. Each will store it in their brains individually. So if one of us want to change that one, we have to go and convince at least 51 people, because if we have 100 people, we have to convince 51% to get the majority. So we had to talk with 51 people here, or else we had to bribe 51 people to convince for that concept that we have, or the way we want them to convince. But which is time costly, as well as which is costly in terms of money as well as time as well. So that is how the scaling is going. So if you are doing it without a person, it's very easy to bribe, or it's very easy to false the transaction. So if you're doing it with one person, it's another level of compromise you have to do. But if you're doing it in front of 100 people, then it takes a lot of effort and a lot of money, time to convince or manipulate that particular transaction. That's the exact thing that blockchain is doing, where it's whenever you do a transaction, or in terms of transaction, what I'm saying is, again, as I mentioned, like people most of the time get it as it's only for money, but it's not only for money. But when it comes to transaction, means it can be an asset transaction, it can be a data transaction, it can be anything that you transfer a valuable thing through blockchain. It will be stored in all the blockchain nodes. So we call it as nodes. So in a technical terms, we call it as nodes, but in a general term, it's simple as a computer which have a database like a storage, where it stores every transaction that happens, or every information that go through blockchain, it stores in that. So you can become a node, so you can set up your machine to do that one. So which is where we call it as a mining, and then the mining coins and all those things comes behind that concepts. So you can become a node, anyone can become a node. So there's no control, or there's no restriction, only this person can become a node, or only this country citizen can become a node. As it's decentralized, if you can be in any part of the world and you can become a blockchain node, and you can directly store that particular transaction in your machine. So when I transfer this 10,000 rupees through blockchain, all the nodes in the blockchain will receive this transaction. So for an example, if you take Bitcoin or Ethereum, there are 10,000 millions of nodes out there. So if millions of nodes receive this transaction, then if I want to change it, I had to go, because it's not a physical person, I can manipulate. I have to go hack this machine. So first I need to identify where these at least 500,000 of nodes are there. And I need to hack those 500,000 of nodes, and I need to manipulate that particular transaction. Then only it will become as a valid one. But there are a lot of other layers of securities there, because if you're going to manipulate that one, you have to manipulate the whole chains of transactions behind that or front of that. And at the same time, if you want to manipulate it, you have to manipulate it before the next block of transactions are that coming to join with that chain. So which is very difficult. And so far, blockchain has a history of 12 to 13 years so far. I mean, yeah, around 12 years so far. And still no one able to hack that one. And maybe in a long run, there will be technologies or supercomputers can do that. But so far, it's nothing happened on that. And that much difficulty is there. And that is what it's provide the trust and immutability of that transaction. So when something goes to blockchain, it will be stays there same as how it ended. And not even the person who entered, or not even the person who stores that one, or anyone in the world had access to manipulate that particular transaction. And that is the one main layer of that. And nowadays we have, like, after quantum computer comes, there's a bit of talks going on, like it can affect the hashing, and it can able to manipulate the blockchain. And now we can see, like, I mean, blockchain industry is always going in the futuristics and fast forward. So there are a lot of blockchains now we have which is quantum proof. So even the quantum computers cannot be able to change or manipulate this information. So that's the overall part which provides that trust element based on this immutability. So that's one of the reasons you can trust blockchain, because on something you're seeing from blockchain, that means it's the exact thing that happens, and no one ever changed that information after that.
So as a developing country, what is the current status of using blockchain technology in Sri Lanka?
In Sri Lanka, in terms of technology, I mean, in terms of the government side, they appointed different blockchain committees and all, but I mean, we couldn't see any progress on that so far. And in terms of the startups and other things, it's quite improved a lot comparing to how it was when I started in before 5 to 6 years. So it's a lot improved in this industry. So there are a lot of startups coming into the blockchain space, and a lot of companies and a lot of industries are keen to explore what is blockchain, and keen to get an idea about like how they can use blockchain in their businesses. And a lot of people are like experimenting these technologies. So even simple as how the shops that are adapting cryptos in Sri Lanka, similar to that, it's going to the next levels, as it's not, they are not stopping. The best part is, like, after government approving these committees and also the talks started to go in the city, and then the people were like try to see like how they can use it apart from the cryptocurrencies or the use case as cryptocurrencies. So companies are exploring how they can store data into blockchain. So a lot of health companies and a lot of like valuable data storage or sensitive data, people are looking to store using blockchain and give ownership to the users. And a lot of industries, especially which are on the export or import or export businesses, working with the supply chain side as well. So they are working with the manufacturing from farm to shelf supply chain traceability. So we work with some clients on rice traceabilities from Sri Lanka, organic rice from farm or the paddy field to shelf of the supermarket, how the journey of that product begins and from how it ends. So the whole traceability, it's showing the person when they're buying whether it's actually organic or whether it's actually the traditional rice or the mentioned methods actually correct or not. So if you do that through database or normal traditional applications, it won't provide you that trust. But when you're doing that through blockchain, and when you're doing that through crypto, sorry, if you're doing that through blockchain, then that is where it's provide that trust that, okay, what I'm seeing is what actually happens, and I can trust that because it's come from blockchain. And a lot of finance side, a lot of banks, all of these people are currently in exploration of blockchain and trying to do at least on pilot projects or POCs. And we can see, I mean, we couldn't see any major changes or major massive applications or things that people are using day-to-day life in Sri Lanka. But there's a lot of things were started, and it's improving every day as well. So that is one of the good signs, and hope we can see some good potential things comes in the near future in Sri Lanka.
Sir, how can we implement this technology to our businesses and organizations?
So for the businesses and organizations, they first need to sit and understand like how the current flow of that business or the organization flow is works, and they need to understand like what are the areas that they can apply blockchain. So there are a lot of I mean kind of workshops or else kind of processes there to identify whether actually you need blockchain or whether you can, I mean, still use your traditional technologies to make that thing happens without, because sometimes people, because it's a buzzword and things, businesses and things will be directly go behind that, and they'll be trying to adapt it because it will give them the hype and the marketing hype, and then the talk in the social medias and all as they adapted blockchain. But the real process is, it's there are processes, there are frameworks, there are work processes there to understand whether actually you need blockchain or not. And there are a lot of other blockchains out there and a lot of types of blockchains out there, and there are ways to identify which type you want and which process you want and which exact blockchain you want to go with. So once they understand that whether they need blockchain or not, so mostly it will be fall under the concepts like they want to improve the ownership of the data, or give back the ownership of the data to the users. So they can directly use blockchain and then give the users the access or the ownership. And they can say that the users owns the data, and users decide who can see the data or who can access these data. So that is one of the ways. So they can directly go by using blockchain for immutability. So whatever the information that are coming, they can use that blockchain to provide immutable data records. So it can be from any industries like health industries, insurance industries, finance, banking, towards supply chain as well. So you can showcase the supply chain traceability in blockchain, which provides that credibility and people with that trust that it's a immutability record, and that provide that people more trust on that, and on that piece of information that they are seeing. And other side is like people can use, or the business can use blockchain to eliminate the middleman or the third party involvement in their process, and they can replace that with the blockchain to improve it and to put it in a more automated and more trustable, more credible manners. So these are the main ways that they can use it. And I mean, the end of the day, it's all about whether it's improving that a piece of trust in that business or in that process or in that product. So if they use, or if they give that ownership to the users, that give the trust from the customer point of view to the business. And if they remove that middleman and replace that blockchain for a transaction between business to business, then that provides a trust between two of these businesses. And when they showcase, or when they use immutability, use blockchain for immutability in supply chain, that provides a trust with the end consumer who is going to buy that product. So it's always, end of the day, it's about trust. So the other ways like businesses can go behind and see like what are the ways they can improve trust in their business or in their product or process, what they can do to improve that trust. And then if they identify the points that bring that trust, or the points that they can, the touch points that they can bring, build the trust more with the customers or B2B, then they can see like how they can put the blockchain into that and then improve this trust. So because if you feel like, okay, this is the point that you want to improve the trust, or this is the reason that customers or someone trusting you, And if you traditionally, if you're going to improve that, then you are always going with the artificial trust. In traditionally, there is no or I mean organic ways to build the trust. So usually you go artificial way to build the trust. One is using middlemen. Second one is you're using advertisements and building brandings and brand managements and building the trust through that, which is a long-term process and it will take a lot of time as well. And if you're using third party and middlemen, which will reduce the time and things a lot, but it will be cost you a lot. And it's again, end of the day, it's about artificial trust and you're depending on another party. But if you want to improve that by yourself in your businesses, and if you want to be independent on building this in a organic trust without depending on a third party or depending on another entity, then that's the good point to start with blockchain and get into that. And always I mean, started as with a proper research and proper understanding of blockchain. And I mean, it's some ways it makes sense for business to go behind the hype, but it's need to be a proper validation that it makes sense for them to use blockchain, because blockchain is not always suitable for everything. So it's not like a silver bullet that you can apply for everything, but it supports and it works in all the industries. But you have to identify what is the reason you're using and then go behind that. So that will be make a lot of sense in the end for the business. Yeah.
So, what are the career opportunities that open with this technology?
So blockchain open a lot of career opportunities. So in different fields. So mainly in the technology side. So in the development side. So it's open for blockchain developers, and specifically like we have around like thousands of blockchains out there. And when it comes to development blockchains, we have the top ones are around like 7 to 10 blockchains that are mostly popular for developers. So there are developers that is one of the career areas where you learn about how to build applications on blockchain or how to write smart contracts on blockchain and how to integrate that with the traditional application. So that is one of the main career areas. And apart from that, so it's created a massive change in most of the other careers that are around these businesses. So one is like, if you take an example, like there are blockchain advocates, or I mean, there are crypto advocates, crypto lawyers, similar like that. There are blockchain advocates and blockchain lawyers as well. And the other side is when it comes to audits and audits and the validation side. So there are blockchain audit people, and it's not only money, but there are technical side audits as well. Like when it comes to when you write a smart contracts or applications, there are certain parties who audit that and validate that and give the certificates on that. And there's a blockchain marketing side, so which is massive in the market after the development after the development salaries or the ways that developers are earning. So after that, it's massively on the marketing side. So we are people who help the businesses to on if they are launching new tokens or coins on marketing, that one way. And apart from that, how they can do marketing in crypto projects or blockchain projects, which is the problem is like all these industries and all these jobs we had before. But once the blockchain comes, you can't do exactly the same traditional things you are doing in the current world in the blockchain projects or the blockchain sites. So it's totally a different process, and you had to have the different mindset. And because the audience you are touching and the audience you are marketing or audiences you are working with, it's totally in a different level. So you have to adapt to that. And that's where all these industries, you have to go through that bit of a learning curve to adapt to and change yourself into to become a blockchain developer or blockchain marketing person, or else blockchain quality assurance person, blockchain audit person, blockchain advocate, blockchain business analysis. So there are even nowadays after NFTs and metaverse getting hype, there are blockchains designers and blockchain artists. So a lot of uh, new opportunities were created in terms of career opportunities, and it's all comparing to the traditional ones, it's all a bit different, and it's all have some unique aspects into that when it comes to blockchain and when you're working in blockchain. But the career opportunities are, I mean, the vacancies and the offers are massive out there, and actually we have a lack of supply. So when it comes to blockchain developers, there's so much demands in the market in Sri Lanka as well as in outside. there's a massive demand in the market for blockchain developers, blockchain marketing people, blockchain advocates, because it's an industry that started after Bitcoin launched in 2009 period, and the developers and all those things started after Ethereum launched in 2014. So from 2015 to now, so we had around 7 years. So within that 7 years, the crypto, or I mean, if you take just as a blockchain, it's grown a lot, and it's growing a lot in the future as well. But the supply for the developers or supply for the resources, we have just minimum, because it's it's a lack of resources out there, as well as the learning curve is high and a lot of other things. The resource management or the supply for the resources are very less, but the market is grown a lot. So there's a lot of demand for, if anyone thinking about like which career you are going to choose, or which career is like maybe good for your future, it's directly you can get into blockchain, and that is one of the things that can give you a good career start, and you can directly get into different levels in blockchain once you start it as a developer, or in other different ways what you can different careers that you can choose in blockchain. So that's one of the advice I can give. But the market is massive and the opportunities are a lot out there. And in terms of career opportunities, it's a wide range, and any carriers that are supporting business can directly work with the blockchain as well, with in a different understanding and different levels of learning curve you had to go, but it is worthwhile going through that.
Thank you, sir. It's clear that blockchain has opened many career opportunities in the world. Our final question to you, sir. What are the dark sides of blockchain?
So it's like similar to how other technologies work. So it's like every coin has a two sides. So it's similar like that. The blockchain also has some the bad side and the good side. So it's not like the blockchain side. So we can't actually claim it as what are the dark sides of blockchain, or what are the problem areas in the blockchain. So it's actually in terms of the way that how humans use that technology. So it's similar like that. Like if you have a like 100,000 of money, so it's either you to buy books or invest on yourself, or else you can buy the drugs or the other things as well. So it depends on how people use that particular technology. And mostly the claims comes on the blockchain for two main reasons. So one is from the crypto side, where initially in 2010 to 2014-15 period, it's mostly Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies are used for most of the underworld activities, and most of the things that we call it as dark side. So it's used for some of the times in drug dealings, weapon dealing, smuggling, because it's easy for them to transfer the money and all. So that's the one of the initial use cases that people use. But after that, it's grown a lot in the other side, the positive side as well, and it's hideout. So it's about like how people use it in one way, and which is not only for blockchain. So if we take it as internet, still we have the dark webs. So we have internet is like for more than 20 years of history now, and still we have the .com. We have the dark webs out there, and people are using it for different dark ways in the traditional internets as well, and which is out there. It will be there like any technology that comes into the market or comes into the world. It's about the people how they're going to use it. But the other side is where most of the people claim blockchain as a bad thing for the economy or the environment. It's because of the electricity power that it takes for the mining. So especially on Bitcoin and Ethereum, when it comes start, it takes a lot of computation power for mining. So it's what it means as computation power is you have to use your computer to connect with electricity, and it runs for 24/7 to do these minings. So once it's doing the mining, it's mining. It happens based on wasting your computation power. So it need to do a lot of calculations to identify that block hash, and then only you can get the rewards. So people use fast computers, chips, and a lot of other mining machines to do these minings. And once the computation power is going up, that means the electricity also going to be high at that level as well. So you are going to waste that much of electricity to do that one. So once electricity is going up, that's where the people started to claim that at one point, it's proven that at one point the Bitcoin only consume electricity more than multiple countries in the world. So more than at one day, it's more than German, I guess. It's some days like Bitcoin only consume electricity for mining and running, which can which is equal to the electricity usage or consumption of German. And in some days it comes for multiple countries of the world's accumulated electricity consumption. It's equal to a day of Bitcoin's mining. But then people later figure it out, okay, there are some faults, and they go and they rework on that and they fill that one. So especially on Ethereum, recently they launched Ethereum version 2 of that, so which is basically comes as a proof of work to proof of stake, so which reduce the mining cost and it's reduce the mining power, electricity power, and it comes very uh, eco-friendly. So it's not that eco-friendly, but it's reduced comparing to how it was before. But after these claims started to come, we have a lot of blockchains now, which is equal to how the carbon credits or carbon rate or carbon emission, which is equal to how we are using a credit cards or a Visa card or a Master Visa. So when you're using the MasterCard, so how much that carbon emission is happening there, it's equal to how we are using a blockchains like Stellar or blockchains like Matic, which is reduce that electricity consumption and carbon emission to that level. So people are improving that. It's improving day to day, and hope in future also it will improve and it will becomes very less carbon emission than how we are using fiat currencies, or even how we are using the uh, Mastercards with the credit cards. And it's an industry that evolved, as I mentioned earlier. Like blockchain is an industry, blockchain industries move very fast, and they are more advanced as well. So they adapt to that, and they will be change things very fast, and they'll be move in future where you can see blockchain is more eco-friendly and more usable as well. But in the other side, how people going to use it and all, so it's not something that blockchain can change, or it's not something that they can change. It's all about the people's mindset, that how they want to use the blockchain, or in terms of any technology that comes into their hands.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Your presence and wise words help to magnify our cause in the best possible way. We look forward to our next interactions. Wishing you all the best for your future endeavors.